Hey everybody, welcome to the Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. I am your host, as always, Jonny Torres, in case you can't tell, because I'm wearing a mask that's probably about 3 sizes too small for me. That's it. We have succumbed to our political overlords, and we've gone full masks here in the show. Despite us not having about 6 feet between each other, we decided we were going to try to pull off a show today anyways. Before I get into topics in our cast, though, you guys see we're all ready for the Delta variant over here. We're triple masked and double masked, and yeah, we'll figure that part out later.
We'll figure this one out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Now screw this. I can't even talk. It's like getting all up in my mouth.
How do people do 3 masks? This is insane.
We're taking these off now, right?
Yeah.
It's a talent.
Oh my
it's
God.
a talent.
Oh my God.
Hi everybody. Welcome to the Yard Sign. I mean, I went to a trade show in Orlando about a week ago, and they were literally companies that were making these and selling these for quite a bit of money were just giving them away.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully that means that we'll be seeing the end of these very soon. Of course, not if the Democrats have anything to say about it, as that's going to be one of our topics tonight. But let's go ahead and start from top to bottom. First, we are going to talk about the Capitol Police expansion that they're discussing currently in Congress. We'll pick apart why that's happening and why is it happening in Tampa, of all places, where we originate the show from. For those of you who may be watching for the first time, we're coming to you from Ybor City, Florida, in the heart of Tampa, Florida, the birthplace of the cigar industry in the United States. And so, as you can imagine, it's... we were just fortunate to live under the DeSantis administration, hopefully future President DeSantis. Just a lot of people don't know, blocks from here, we have a federal courthouse downtown, which serves about half of the state. And right across the street from that federal courthouse is also a federal government building, which houses the FBI, the Secret Service, Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, that sort of thing. So we'll talk about the Capitol Police expansion. We're also going to discuss the mask mandate coming back, and what a mess that's going to be, because, of course, we've got now the federal government and the states governments fighting the mask mandates, especially as we are now a week away here in Tampa from reopening schools and other school districts soon to follow. So every school district right now is trying to figure out whether or not they will be mandating masks for the upcoming school year, and, of course, what the governor has to say about that as well. And last but certainly not least, we have Kamala, who is not getting much done in the White House, not even in terms of carrying the black vote or support, or, there's not much that Kamala's doing right these days. And so are her days numbered as part of this administration? Polling is showing that it's not going in the right direction, especially after the immigration blunders that she's been tasked with. So we'll talk about Kamala Harris and her future within the Democratic Party and maybe even within the White House administration. So with me, as familiar faces as always, we welcome back tonight Holobyn. Thank you so much for coming back. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be mask-free.
Yes, thank you. Well, and we were talking a little bit before the show. We had to go through your agent to get you on the show today because you've been traveling so much. We weren't sure if you were even going to be in the city to be able to do the show. But you were saying, in terms of traveling, which you've done quite a bit of, other than on the airplane, it hasn't been too bad out there.
The national parks at one point, you had to wear a mask, and now no one's wearing the mask there. Everything's outside, so it's pretty safe.
Again, one of those rules that makes no sense.
Exactly.
Like you're in the Grand Canyon, you're in, and it's but I'm wearing a mask for some reason.
Exactly. Walking down the streets of downtown Denver, and no one's out there except you, but you have to wear a mask. And it just makes no sense.
Now, were there any cities like that were kind of still pretty shut down?
I'd say probably parts of out west, the more blue states.
Okay.
New Mexico, going in December, in January, everything was on lockdown. Like restaurants closed at 8 o'clock. Everything was shut down. It felt like you're in a ghost town. And
does it feel almost like like going to a completely different country? Especially coming from Florida, where we've been in a pretty normal state now for about a year.
Yeah. I think back when this was still really half and half, you could definitely tell if you're in a red state or a blue state. You
Right.
could definitely feel it. Now, not as much.
Sure.
Some of the people that you talk to, it's all about like their mentality and what they're safe with. So that's changed a little bit as well. But I remember being in New Mexico right around New Year's, and I was so excited to get to Texas because I knew things were going to be a little bit more lax and I could actually eat inside a restaurant.
Oh my gosh! Wow. All right. Well, thanks for
All right.
making time for us. And joining me over at the end of the table, not paying attention as always, ladies and gentlemen, that's Anibal David Cabrera. And I appreciate the triple masking.
I tried.
Mostly because, the breath was kicking a little bit. But,
I apologize. We got beverages to fix that problem.
there we go.
Future. I honestly don't understand how people can do 2 masks at the same time, let alone 3.
Yeah.
But all deity Fauci is telling us that we might need to do more than 2. So.
Well, I mean, again, I barely made it through a sentence without getting this thing all up in my mouth. I've almost forgotten. I've almost forgotten what it was to wear these.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't worn one in so long, and of course, the big topic of discussion here is, that we're going to be talking about later on is. Are we going to need these in schools? And obviously there's a lot of differing opinions on that, especially given that we are seeing Delta variant cases, we're seeing COVID cases come back. But first of all, we're going to talk about the Capitol Police expansion, particularly here in Tampa, of all places. While yes, we did have a number of people who were involved in the incident on January 6th at the National Capitol that came from Florida. I think a lot of people are wondering, well, why Tampa? And it's one of those things that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, people don't realize that, we are kind of the federal hub for most of the state.
Correct.
We have the federal courthouse, we have federal agencies that are based here out of Tampa. Obviously, they also have satellite offices in Miami, Jacksonville, and that sort of thing. But quite a bit of that federal activities happens right here in Tampa. And so, I mean, they're trying to make this out as if it has something to do with what happened on January 6th. And as always, I mean, it's not it's not what it appears. And obviously, Anibal and I, we kind of listen to a lot of the same podcasts and news sources and all that. And there's a lot that bothers me about this. And we were talking, about this off air, which is that you already have a problem here where DHS, specifically, let's say ICE, for instance, people want to demonize ICE on a national level. Here in Tampa, they have an office of 5 people, to serve an entire region. So they're already incredibly understaffed and overworked as it is. And so instead of putting in additional resources where we need them at the port, in regards to things like immigration, at the airport, those kind of things, they're now wanting to expand government, as Democrats love to do, right? Because that's what they do best. What do you guys think that the true goal is? Because this has nothing to do with January 6th. I mean, they're trying to make it about domestic extremism. But I don't think that's the case at all.
No, I think this is just another ploy to have the Hunger Games come to Florida. They're the peacekeepers.
Awesome.
Sure.
But honestly, when has there ever been another time where we talk about Capitol Police setting up shop in an actual state outside of the District of Columbia?
Yeah.
And there's really never been a reason that our state's National Guard, the FBI, our boots on the ground already here, couldn't take care of our citizens.
Right.
And even from a national security standpoint too. This
Well,
is uncalled
we
for.
have MacDill, where
We have MacDill.
again,
We have CENTCOM.
huge military operations happening there. SOCOM, CENTCOM, I mean, you name it. And then, of course, as I mentioned, Secret Service has an office here, FBI has an office here, DHS, I mean, you name it. And so, the one analysis or one point that I heard brought up about why they're possibly doing this is because the Capitol Police is not subject to FOIA requests. And they're also not allowed to be subpoenaed for testimony. Basically, they answer only to Congress, and so this basically would allow Congress to launch investigations and be able to operate in secrecy, really, and zero to no transparency, in investigating citizens and investigating people here in the United States, because they don't have any foreign. They have no reason to try to investigate people that are here from other countries.
They definitely have the optics are pretty bad with this whole conversation. And something that I think a lot of people are forgetting is that California is also having an office opened up in their state as well. So it's not really a blue or red state situation. It's just that there were a lot of individuals from California and a lot of individuals from Florida that attended the rally in the Capitol on the 6th. I think what we're going to see now is and I agree with you, any government organization that even starts a little bit broadens immensely to where it becomes a problem, and it becomes a problem with their civil liberties. And when you have a department that's only answerable to the people in Congress, that's a recipe for abuse. And that's what you're going to start seeing.
Well, and the FBI is already handling a lot of the
Correct.
investigations into the individuals who were involved in January 6th.
It's a witch hunt. It's a witch
Right.
hunt with this blanket statement, oh, we're doing this for your protection. Well, no.
Well, that's the excuse they use
Yeah.
for everything, right?
Right.
And again, the FBI is already handling this. But don't get me wrong. I feel that certainly over the last 8-10 years, the FBI has lost a lot of credibility. They've lost a lot of clout on both sides of the aisle, really. But we saw this certainly in the Obama administration, and then certainly in the Trump administration, where it seems like there are a lot of internal issues at the FBI. And so I wonder if this is Congress's way of kind of saying, yeah, we don't really think you guys are up to the task, so we're going to kind of bring our own people in.
Congress is going to get what they want. And right now it's run by Democrats.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, if, and God willing, when the Republicans take back the House come 2022, I will see either they get pulled back or those reports and investigations stop immediately. Because again, you're going beyond the scope of what occurred that day.
Yeah.
And so as soon as that happens and those chairmen change and everything else, I think that will scale down immensely, because right now we just see it as an overreach in the position of the government. And so with that being said, I don't want to be investigated myself.
Right. Well, and again, like, what triggers an investigation, and what rights do they have, in terms of investigating citizens, and what bothers me the most is the lack of transparency that they're held to.
Yeah.
So again, the fact that they are excluded from any freedom of information requests. I mean, that's a big deal. And that the fact that the only people that can actually subpoena them to testify is Congress. So if there is a civil case or even another kind of federal case, like, you can't subpoena any of those officers or any of that information. I mean, that's also, I think, is not right.
It's also being championed by Pelosi.
Right.
And so, there's got to be an ulterior motive just because of what she kind of runs amok with, but
Well,
be a fly on the wall.
this is a political tool, right? And they know it, because it was a way to basically weaponize what happened that day and say that these people are dangerous, and then what they're going to do is they're going to try to lump all Republicans in with the group of people that went into the Capitol on January 6th, which, again, the only people who had weapons were the Capitol Police.
Correct.
And
holding
so
doors open.
Right.
Holding doors open.
Doors were open, fences were moved.
I mean, politely not to go into these rooms. Don't get me wrong. I think a large part of this is the fact that the Washington D.C. Capitol Police and the city police were not allowed to, one, bring on additional officers to be able to protect it, and two, their request for additional support were denied. And that is a big part of that. That if you allow, and again, what happened that day was horrible.
Who was in charge?
But that's the thing.
Pelosi was in charge.
Yeah, Pelosi is in charge because she denied it.
Right.
And they're not saying why she denied it. So again, this is trying to place blame on other people. This is also being used as a weapon against Republicans and be able to bash it. Because what else are you going to talk about? You're not going to talk about COVID. You're not going to talk about the economic problems. You're going to talk about what happened on the 6th, and because of how it looks and how the media has the headline videos and pictures have been so warped, and like they're using Photoshop and everything else to make it look even worse than what it
Sure.
is. It's horrible. And don't get me wrong, things happen, and people that broke into the Capitol and did it inappropriate should be held up to the full extent of the law. But opening additional branches and doing additional investigations is going too far.
To me, this is almost like Texas going in over to Arizona and saying, we know how to run your elections better, so we're just going to do it for you.
Well, that's the thing, and so, I would say, okay, well, if you're going to bring the Capitol Police into Tampa, or if you're going to expand it around the country, then what do we need the FBI for?
Correct.
Yep.
Or the CIA, or what I'm saying? Like, they're obviously basically saying that they don't have confidence in these other agencies, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, because again, we listen to Crystal and Sager,
Yep.
Who've been talking about how this plot to have kidnapped Governor Gretchen Whitmer was basically almost entirely concocted by the FBI itself. And that there were more FBI agents involved than there were people that were arrested for it. So yeah, the FBI is having a lot of internal problems. But then again, so why not restructure, right, and address the problem, but and again, it goes back to control, right? They don't have control over the FBI. They do have control over the Capitol Police. And I think this is something that could be...
I was going to say, the Clintons had control of the FBI with Loretta Lynch and James Comey.
Yeah.
They still ran the gamut there.
Well, but again, to me, it's about bigger picture and down the road, right? And so what else could they do with this down the road, especially when it comes to elections, when it comes to, other national security issues that we're not seeing yet?
Well, the federal government is pushing its boundaries and pushing the limit of their control and
Right.
of their position. And every American should be upset, and every state should be upset of when this happens. I'm looking at the comment section, and they're making a lot of sense. The fact that how would you feel, the sheriff of Hillsborough County, if this was happening in their county? I mean, I would take offense if I was a sheriff of a county and this additional branch of government was being brought in to investigate when they should be able to work with and be in cooperation with the FBI, the office here of the FBI office. Kimberly Davis is asking, where is the money coming from for this situation? She's also saying that the other office in California is in San Francisco, which is controlled by Pelosi.
Right.
So, I mean, these are very interesting happening going back and forth. Joe even is talking about a rumor that the Bidens will give primetime speeches about another lockdown. Oh, wait, that's talking about something else.
Let me get my popcorn ready.
Well, no, and again, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. I mean, apparently, in terms of spending bill and in terms of some of these places where Democrats are wanting to really throw a lot of money in, I mean, there's a lot of negotiations happening right now, and I don't know that the Republicans really have the power that they need right now to push back on any of this.
No, they don't have any.
And so really, I mean, for Republicans, it's going to be about running out the clock. And again, I would think, or I would hope, that there's at least some type of legal challenge to the expansion of these offices, if that's even at all possible. But again, I don't foresee it being a possibility that they would even stop this from happening if Pelosi's able to get it through Congress.
Not with who's in power right now. And I
Right.
think, didn't she pass a bill that gave funding to these two offices with our taxpayer dollars? So, I mean, we're funding this.
Yeah.
And we have no say in this.
But
With
we
someone
do-
else's police department.
But you do have a say in this in regards to
Who you vote
pushing back
for.
in the midterms and who you vote for. We have a county that's split with Republican and Democrats in the congressional districts inside Hillsborough County. So you have the right to choose and vote for who you do and do not want to represent you in those districts. Hence why we're making sure that we do voter registrations and get out the votes and other things like that. That's how you push people to understand that the way that this works is if you get the politicians to understand that you don't want this in your backyard. And that's how you get this. That's how you get them to do whatever needs to get done. They will bend, and we've seen it before where they bend to pressure because people are emailing, calling, and showing up at their offices
Yeah.
if they can get inside without a mask.
Right. Well, and it's. I think this is they're continuing to demonize. And at every level, it seems like the one thing that Democrats are doing, almost at every level, is trying to demonize our own citizens. And trying to stoke this flame of division, whether it's police officers, whether it's our military, whether it's, again, even our own citizens who were there, for whatever reason. I mean, whether it was a protest, whether, they were going into the Capitol, again, did obviously, I don't agree with the way that things went down on January 6th, but it's still the people's house. That's still the people's building, and so they had every legal right to go into that building.
Right.
Now, there were other things that took place there that shouldn't have happened, right?
No.
And there were people there that had nefarious motives, and those people should be dealt with accordingly, but it certainly, I don't think, justifies a national expansion of a federal agency.
No Democrat is going to allow this incident to go without a way to further their expansion of power. That's just how Democrats are, and I just don't see them looking past it. And they're going to take advantage of any event that occurs.
Right.
So with this situation occurring, they're going to take advantage of it. And again, there's really very little we can do besides talk about it and make sure people are aware that their civil liberties might be in jeopardy, allowing this additional non-branch of a judicial overview to be doing investigations on citizens in Hillsborough County.
Well, and like we've seen with the war on terror, and like what we've seen with this, kidnapping scheme of Governor Whitmer, these agencies are the ones concocting some of these very problems that then they kind of turn around and try to take credit for,
Right.
For having stopped. Well, yeah, you planned it. It's,
Just like TMZ, those
Right.
celebrities give their own advice and
Sure.
feedback to those reporters.
Yeah, and they tell them where they're going to be. Right, exactly.
J-Lo.
So,
Whoa.
and on that note, as far as taking control and taking advantage of the control that you have, let's move on to our second topic. Again, joining us today, Holly Holobyn, Anibal David Cabrera. And don't forget, if you'd like the audio version of our podcast, which we've been getting amazing numbers for, you can subscribe to the audio version of our podcast at the Tech Overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. So we certainly appreciate you checking those out as well, and you can take that wherever you want to go. Now, the video version, of course, is here on YouTube and Facebook. So our second topic being these little suckers here that we obviously can't seem to get rid of. And they're just they're everywhere now. I mean?
Yeah.
It's for some reason, it's like you find them now throughout the house. They just happen to be in the randomest places.
I don't know what's wrong, Jonathan. I feel that your position and your attitude towards the masks that Saint Francis Falco, what is his name now? Fauci has been telling us to do every single time. We need to follow
Saint Fauci of Corona.
Saint Fauci of Corona is doing what is correct, not what is expedient, for making sure that he has the funding to continue the research that he has.
Follow the science.
Follow the science.
Follow
That's
the
right.
science.
I say follow the money.
Follow the money.
I should have wore my Fauci shirt today, which is a great libation they serve in D.C.
Well, no, and what I love was all the national headlines that DeSantis got for his "Don't Fauci My Florida" T-shirts and koozies and stuff like that.
Oh, they hated it.
Oh, yeah, they got real worked up about that.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Are you double masking?
I don't know how this works.
It's not a bra, David.
Well,
It's
there's no clip.
that's true. So, here, you want this one too?
No, I have dangle. We're losing control over here.
What's really interesting is a week ago, these were BOGO at Disney, and now they're back to being full priced.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, then shortly thereafter, they brought back the mandatory masking.
I was not happy about that this weekend. But
Wow.
Say love you.
Well, no, and look, I was just about to buy tickets, because, they have the Florida resident special, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to take my daughter in the middle of the summer, to walk around a theme park for 6 hours with a mask on.
Well, you don't have to wear it outside there yet, but who knows?
So in the attractions.
in the attractions, anything outside, but it's still for anybody that's never experienced
Disney.
August
Oh
in
my
Florida.
gosh.
Yeah. It's hard to breathe as it
I
is.
mean,
It really
Seriously,
really
no, it
is.
really
you
is.
need
Yeah.
a cup of ice chips at all times. You basically need to be in your bathing suit.
Yeah.
And just people waving fans at
Honestly,
you.
I think I wear more layers in the summer than I do in the winter because, like, I was out at a football game this weekend and I was wearing, like, my T-shirt, a hat, a towel, like, you know, and an umbrella, and it was just, I mean, because the heat was
so
just
hot.
that hard.
The only time I wear long sleeves in Florida is when I'm on the boat and I need it for the sun
Yeah,
protection.
exactly.
But, I mean,
You don't even wear long sleeves in the winter.
My farmer tan is legit, so I have no comments. I will say this though, I think the big fight, and we all knew this was probably going to happen. We all knew that there was going to be, because they were talking all summer about the variants and like the Delta variants and everything else. And so we saw the numbers starting to come up a little bit. And even in Florida, we see the numbers spiking. But again, I say this, and now you see like moderate and Democrats talking about like, if people aren't dying and the hospital rate isn't going astronomical, what are we doing? Like, you are now causing more harm by telling people that even with the vaccine, it doesn't matter. And that's going to cause more harm for people to not want to take it or wait until something it's fully FDA affiliate appointed.
Which it's not.
No, and so I think that's what we're going to start seeing more and more is that people are going to be like, what's the point? There's no point. You're telling me that society will fall back down because something that we all knew, because like when people get the vaccine, you know that you could probably still get COVID. But you're just not going to get it as severe.
Well, some people know. Some people don't understand.
And
that.
I think that's the bigger problem is that the communication. So now you have people that think they can't get COVID because they got the vaccine. So they're like, then what was the point of getting the vaccine?
Well, I mean, we just saw. Sorry.
I was going to say it's just like the chickenpox vaccine. Not saying it is the chickenpox vaccine, but I mean, there's still a chance that you could get it.
Yeah.
If you go over to, some of these other countries, you could still get yellow fever and malaria if you're in that country. And
but then what's crazy is, like, for example, what happened in Massachusetts. Now, the Washington Post and People magazine, both covered this, which was that there was a huge COVID outbreak in Massachusetts, and 75% of the cases were from people who've already been vaccinated. That's a crazy number to think. Now, here in Florida, the numbers make a little more sense. Many of the cases are from the unvaccinated, but there's still a percentage of people who've been vaccinated who are getting it. But what frustrates me to no end.
Okay, finish.
No, well, I mean, we still have a lot of the federal mask mandates in place, airports and federal buildings, that sort of thing. But what infuriates me is that the media continues to put a hyper focus on Florida and Ron DeSantis, and instead of putting the focus nationally and on the states that are having ridiculous outbreaks like Massachusetts and holding those people accountable.
Do you remember? And I think the media should. And I'm waiting for Twitter or Facebook to call misinformation.
Right.
Because what a lot of
do they do that?
No, they haven't done it yet to the New York Times or for the Washington Post because it makes it sound like there is a disaster happening in Massachusetts and in New Hampshire when they're like, it's 140, I don't remember the full number, but whatever that number is of those new cases in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, you know how many people went to the hospital? 4. Only 4 people went to the hospital. And they don't talk about that. They don't talk about the fact that...
It's about creating panic.
And that's what the media is doing. They don't have Trump to talk to sell liners and sell clicks and everything else. So now we're going to be talking about the Delta virus and how dangerous it is. And it's going to be like a hurricane season, which every new variant is going to have a name. It's going to go in the alphabetical order.
I'm just waiting for it to show up like a dolphin.
Yes, it's
well, look, the truth of the matter is that, again, this may end up being a new normal for us. In terms of dealing with this virus, right, and all its variants, that are going to come here on after. And so why don't we put it into perspective? I mean, the fact that somebody made a good point that heart disease kills 1,800 people a day, a day, like that to me is a far bigger problem that needs to be dealt with than the numbers that we're seeing from COVID. And again, I think the government has maxed out its reach. I think those who want the virus have those who want the vaccine have gotten the vaccine. Those who don't want it are not going to get it, plain and simple.
The Kaiser family.
They've reached the population that they're going to reach, and that's it.
The Kaiser family did a great research, which came out over the weekend, discussing how many people are actually thinking about taking the vaccine or why they're not taking the vaccine.
Yeah.
And about 30% of them, a little bit more than 30%, was talking about how they just don't want to get it because it's the first dose. They want to see what the difference is. They want a few adaptations of the virus, of the vaccine. And another 30% were talking about how they're just not going to get it. So then you already have about, I think, like 30 or 35% of the population that's never going to get, or they don't want to get it, or they don't need to get it. And again, I'm assuming that is outside of the elderly population, those that have medical problems and everything else, because they had a huge push. I think in Florida, those over the age of 65, it's pushing like 70% that have gotten the vaccine.
Right.
But again, you have a situation where these people are never going to get it, even to the point to where if your job required you to get it, only 42% said they would get it if their job required.
Wow.
So you still have majority saying that they're not going to get the vaccine, even if their job requires it. So I don't know what the push is for the media. And again, I know why the media is pushing it. It's because they want to sell papers, they want to sell ads, they want to sell clicks. Now the White House is pushing back because they're like, okay, it's not that bad. The White House doesn't want this to be an issue.
Yeah,
the White
because
House
now they own it.
Yeah, the White House owns it, and they're thinking about midterms.
But think about like when this all first broke out, when Biden was running, he said, "Oh, if I was president, I would have had this solved in 6 months." Well, he's been in office for more than 6 months.
Right.
He still hasn't solved it. So.
Well, not only that, the fact that, they want to call Republicans the anti-vaxxers, but let's remember that the people who were against the vaccine from day one were Democrats.
Kamala.
And the media, Kamala and Joe Biden being right up at the front of that list, because they were saying, well, if it's under the Trump administration, I'm not going to get the vaccine. And they politicized it and they weaponized the vaccine. And so how can they expect to then make a 180 on that stance and expect people to respond to it? It's just not going to happen.
Because the government's telling you what to do, and you should listen to the government of everything they talk about. And again, we're going to, so I pulled up the post real quick from the White House. It says, vaccinated people do not transmit the virus at the same rate as unvaccinated people. And if you fail to include that in your context, in your news media reports, you are doing the wrong thing. And so this is a guy that's running the task force at the White House, tweeting back to the New York Times. And in all caps, which I'm assuming that means you're yelling. I don't do Twitter.
Right.
I'm not allowed to do multiple platforms because of the wife. So I'm assuming that means you're yelling.
Is this the same report that they ran over in India, and then they switched some of the reporting and or took out or omitted some of the phrasing?
That was the transmission.
That was the transmission.
And so I don't know if it was the New York Times or one of the other big ones that used a report from India, the country, to talk about transmissions, which they have a completely different strain that's happening there. Also, it's 4 times the size of the United States.
Future echo variant.
Echo variant. So again, you see what's happening. You see that the media is now even disconnecting itself from the U.S., from the White House, and that's going to become a problem.
Yeah.
Because all they want to sell is a car crash. That's what they want to sell.
Well, and I was talking to a journalist before the show, and we were just talking about the greater state of journalism and the media, and that at some point the media went from being the objective party and basically telling what was happening in the world to somehow now feeling like they have to be the champion of some agenda, and they have to be the ones to, kind of help move forward, this liberal agenda.
Jonathan, who is going to save the republic?
Yeah, right, exactly.
The media that saves the republic.
Yeah. Right, when, again, it's completely, they're supposed to be completely removed from that equation, and merely report on what's happening, but now they've taken on more of an activist role, and they want to be the ones to decide what is good and what is not good for the country, or even the world for that matter.
You know who's unbiased on journalism? The points guy.
The points guy.
The points guy.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we're going to keep on seeing the media push this because they want to, because it allows them to keep on talking about it. We're going to see the White House push back on it. We're going to see, and again, I think people are afraid. And I know, at least in Tampa, people are, especially on the left, on the right, are really, really concerned that they're going to try to push masks on children
Right.
in the school system. And
Well, but again, the federal government truly has no power over the public school system.
yeah, but you already
And-
see certain school systems in Florida.
Now, there'll be a
bucking
legal
to that
battle
pressure.
over it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, because again, you have a mostly liberal school system
Yeah.
throughout the state of Florida that's going to want to kowtow to whatever the National Democratic Party states and the National Teachers Union states.
Oh,
And then you're going to have a governor who's going to push back against that. And so it's going to be interesting to see, because you're going to have a lot of these local mayors and local city council people, county commission people who are going to want to make a name for themselves, leverage this as an opportunity to kind of stand up to the governor, right? And try to enforce these mask mandates onto kids who, again, out of the entire population, are really the ones who need it the least.
I was going to ask two things because I don't know this. What's the transmission rate from like child to child and then passing it on to their parents? I don't know
I think
what that is.
the Delta is a little bit more transmissible to younger children, because now who you see in the hospitals are a little bit younger, and those that are not do not have the vaccine. I do not know what is going on with those under the age of 12, because I mean, what they're talking about having booster shots, which again, these medical companies are making bank from the federal government, which is why I think they're going to keep on pushing this.
Yeah.
Again, it's you follow the money.
Johnson & Johnson, I believe, has made about about $2 billion.
Oh yeah, my stock in them is amazing.
And Pfizer.
And Pfizer.
And Pfizer.
So like, remember in the beginning of all this, when we were starting to get the first few numbers, we were all arguing that the percentage of you dying, blah blah, is so low. Well, and now I feel like responsible journalism is actually pushing that theory now. Axion said that less than 0.1% of vaccinated Americans have been infected by the COVID-19, and only 0.004% have been hospitalized. And then you break that down even further with the deaths at 0.001. And we were making this argument in the beginning, like it's such a rarity. It's sad when it happens. We should try to get people that are in that category that they might get sick to not get sick and get them the vaccine. But we're there now. We're there.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be interesting to see if school districts mandate masks for children under 12. How many respiratory issues children's call out of school with, besides just your upper respiratory that happens.
Well,
every year anyway,
I noticed in my own daughter, kind of at the height of mask use, she was coughing a lot. She just didn't seem to be breathing like how she normally would. And she was, to her credit, she was very diligent about wearing it. Which again, for a 4 or 5 year old, I mean, that's not easy to do. To get them to adopt, a behavior like that and be consistent about it. And so. I wonder about that, because again, your lungs are having to work harder, and you're also wearing a thing that by the end of the day is full of bacteria, and you're repeatedly exhaling and inhaling all of that, which you should be expelling, and of course it's going to lead to respiratory issues. So I'm absolutely not looking forward to it, and I'm not sure exactly how I'd handle if there were to be a mask mandate, but I'm certainly not going to be happy about it.
So the comment section is going crazy about the fact that about Hillsborough County having the mandate happen again. Some people are saying that we've already failed the beta test with parents complying with the teachers union for forced masks for children for 1,200 hours. They know if we can't get parents to draw the line, no one will. We are compliant beyond the ways of giving up our rights and allowing this. Don't blame the system. In this country of millions, the same 100 show up to stand up for the kids. I agree. There's a rally on Wednesday. If you're able to make it, to show your support and show the fact that the county commission, or the county board of education cannot do this, then I say go for it.
I'll do you one better. Don't even. I would say don't come to the rally. Get on your phone, get on your laptop, make phone calls and send emails. That is far more effective.
Emails are far more effective.
That is far more effective than any rally out there where you're just white noise basically to them while they're locked away in a building.
You should be doing all the above. Honestly, you should be trying to do all the above.
Right, exactly, and remind them that hey, there are elections coming up, and there are school board members that can easily be removed because there are challengers to nearly every school board member that is
which
going
happened
wrong.
last time.
Right.
They balked on the reopening of schools last cycle, and half of them got wiped out.
Right.
That's what has to happen this time around. You need to go and you need to vote, and you need to make sure those people are held accountable. Even the Hillsborough County Teachers Union is holding an openly Democratic candidate and campaign training forum at their headquarters this weekend. We saw, like, people are really posting about this, that I honestly feel that again, the teachers union should be a 501c3 or 501c4 because it's a union, but you cannot do that. But yet they're openly doing that, and they need to be called out on it.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you don't like what your elected officials are doing, look at how they're voting and vote them out if you don't like what they're doing.
But I'll say, look, and a lot of people don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's true, but it is true. These elected officials, they are tracking emails, they're tracking phone calls, they are paying attention to the response to the news cycle, right?
Right.
And so, especially on an issue like this, they're dipping their toes in the water to see what the temperature's like.
Yep.
And if the blowback is too harsh, they're going to back off.
Yep.
Especially when you tell them that their career is on the line. Because let's remember, a lot of these folks who are on school board, they don't want to go back to whatever they were doing before this. We were lucky to have some, in there right now and previously who had great careers, and they, and were doing pretty substantial things outside of the school board. But some of these people, barely have a high school degree. And have nothing else to fall back on, and merely got elected simply because they were able to get, the Democratic vote behind them.
So no one flips flop better than Charlie Crist.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, if you start looking when he first announced his candidacy, how many times he's flip-flopped on all these different issues from like now till midterm.
Oh, he's the worst. I mean, he's the worst about it.
But specifically this issue.
Yeah.
This will be interesting to track.
So again, this week is going to be the week for parents to speak up. Not only, again, phone calls and emails, but also there's going to be open houses happening throughout the county. And this is the opportunity to also let it be known to your teachers, because your teachers are going to get that word back to administration and school board members and let them know how you feel about the mask mandates. Because again, once the school year starts,
It's very
who sees
difficult.
your kid more than their teacher? Right? And so you need to let the teachers know, especially how you feel as a parent in regards to this issue.
In Hillsborough County, this week was the week that teachers went back for non-student days. So right now we kind of see the influx of teachers coming back to the schools and trying to get their classrooms ready and everything else. Your students, if you're in Hillsborough County, don't start until next week. I don't know about private school or charters, but I do know that the bulk of the students are going to come back next week. This is causing an immense amount of confusion with parents.
Yeah.
Some parents do not want their children to go back to school in this atmosphere. Some of them are now trying to pull them and move into virtual schooling. This is going to cause ripple effects because people are not going to know what the count of students is going to be.
Right.
There's a school that my wife is working at that they can't find 200 kids. Their 200 kids are just gone. They
Wow.
have no idea where they are, and it's not like they're going somewhere else because Hillsborough County is bursting out the seams.
Yeah.
But are these kids going to charter? Are these kids going to private? And you're losing those kids and that revenue to be able to function as a school.
What's the percentage of children in brick and mortar versus virtual?
Oh, I couldn't even imagine what that number is right now because they moved so many people off of it.
Yeah.
But I will say this as an update. Kimberly Davis gave us the number of transmissions for children is almost non-existent in regards to transmission rates for children is non-existent. They're talking about, Amandala, I think that's what your name is. She's saying that we should not comply, but videotape, post online, and spread, humiliate, make a fuss. We should never allow them to co-parent with the federal government. And then she's like, no, I mean speaking of the school board for the year. And I love what she made a comment about the actual. Quit calling them elected officials. Call them elected citizens. There's nothing official about them. I thought that was pretty fun in what she wrote. That's a really good one. We should be calling them elected citizens. I think that's a really good one.
Well, and one last note on this particular issue before we move on is also, again, as you are having these open houses and as you are starting to communicate with these teachers, not only tell them how you feel, let them know, and I don't mean in a combative way, I just say let it be known that you as a parent, how you feel about the mask issue, but also, feel free to ask them how they feel right? Because they're going to have a say in this as well, and they're going to run their classroom according to how they feel it should be run. And you need to know that if you are not in favor of the mask, that you may not, what kind of an environment is your child going to be in, and is this going to be an issue depending on where you fall on this particular issue? Is there going to be a problem with your child wearing or not wearing a mask in that classroom?
Well, you had the governor sign, and I think Hector, if you can pull up what the actual number was for the bill that he signed over the executive order that he signed over the weekend, talking about that school boards are not allowed to put in mandates for masks.
Yeah.
I think
it should be optional.
It has to be optional, but I also think that's going to have to expand a little with vaccines as well.
Right.
Because that's the next move. If they're attacking masks, they're going to attack the vaccine.
Well, they don't mandate, they can't mandate the traditional vaccines that every child is supposed to get when enrolling into school. So I don't see how it'd be possible for them to mandate this vaccine.
Well, they're going to try.
Especially since it hasn't been cleared not only by the FDA, but it also hasn't been cleared for kids, or a preteen and under. And so again, how can you even ask that they be given something that, again, hasn't been tested, hasn't been proven through the normal channels? And if you're a Democrat who loves regulation, right, because you think it somehow keeps you safe and that the government keeps you safe, then why are you not in favor of waiting until the FDA comes out with some sort of ruling on this?
The flu takes a lot more kids out every year than people realize.
Oh, yeah.
Of how dangerous the flu is for children, and we don't have the flu as the vaccine for the flu.
That's not mandated either.
And that's
right?
not mandated.
Yeah.
So so people are saying that they don't. Okay, so thank you, Hector. It's Order 21-175. Thank you so much. So for those that want to read the executive order that the governor wrote out, it's order number 21-175. Some people are saying they don't think that the Hillsborough County is going to do it because Davis has already said that he's already gotten a pretty bad public spanking, so he doesn't think it's going to happen. Kimberly Davis doesn't believe it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to buckle at this time. I think they're going to push it on individuals for Hillsborough County. But I think before we talked about, I think Orange County has already said that they're mandating the masks.
Well, but again, at least here in Hillsborough County, the last thing they want to be is under the state scrutiny again.
Yeah.
And so they're having to pick their battles, and I don't think this is one of them.
I was just going to chime in and say, as a county school board as a whole, if the vaccine's only approved for 12 and up at this point, that really only leaves high school students.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
and you can't get those kids to do anything.
Well, and again, there's plenty of other kind of vaccines out there that they don't mandate.
Yeah.
HPV, flu. There's all kinds of other vaccines that we don't demand that these kids get. So why would they put that on kids now? All right. So, again, thank you for watching The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. Holly and Anibal with me today, talking about the news and politics of the day. Certainly plenty to cover, but we'll talk about the stories we missed at the end of the show, as we usually do. Don't forget, for the audio version of our show, you can catch it on all the podcast platforms at our tech overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. Again, I kind of jokingly say that, but fortunately, we've still been allowed to have our show online. Yeah, and again, the audio version of the show does incredibly well. I mean, I'm excited about the fact that people, as a guy who started out in radio, that people still love listening to content.
Yeah.
I know that there's a group of people that drive a company's vans that does deliveries, that there's a large group of them that listen to us, so that's really cool.
Is it one of our tech overlords?
One of our tech overlords drivers.
Yeah.
We're employees, do a great job and are listening to us.
By the way, congratulations on sending your boss to space.
Yeah, in a very inappropriate rocket. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Who thought that wasn't going to look?
Have you seen the mashup with Austin Powers?
No, I am a Christian and do not watch and look at things like that.
They must have gotten their architectural design from our state capitol building.
That too. We can't really speak in Florida. We do like our phallic symbols here in Florida. All right. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. Again, please comment, like, share this episode if you're enjoying it, so we can continue to reach more people as we get closer to the elections. As we move into a new space here, hopefully very soon. As you can see, we're starting to collect some yard signs in the back. And so if you are a candidate and have been on the show, want to be on the show, reach out to Anibal or I, and we'll not only make sure to get one of your yard signs up here behind us, but we'll also get you on the show so we can speak of your candidacy.
We definitely need to have a whole show dedicated to the color scheme
of
the science behind yard signs.
Right.
Because there's so much thought and pressure put into it when really they do very little.
And I've seen people get it so wrong.
Oh, so wrong. We're dealing. So I have a client that's about to launch their campaign, and they sent me the first designs for the yard signs, and I was like,
oh no.
I'm not crazy about it. However, they gave us a very large group of different colors, and I'm like, it's just shooting in the dark, and you don't want to be that person.
We should maybe say, reserve like an episode to talk about that, because the one that always stands out to me when I talk about yard signs in politics was when Dick Greco ran for mayor again, I think for like the third time.
It would have been the fourth time.
Okay, right. So it was black with red letters.
Yes.
And then it had, I guess the handprint was supposed to be like an all hands in or something like that, but it was in red, so it looked like a bloody handprint, and so it looked like you had bloody handprints all over the city.
That makes sense.
That
makes sense.
That does make sense. That does make sense.
Makes sense.
So we could do an episode on yard signs and then take a poll on who they would pick specifically based off their yard sign.
The best yard signs.
Yep, best yard sign.
Some people love the red, white, and blue, and I'm like, you really need like a color to pop.
Yeah.
So like we have Michael Owen right behind Jonathan Torres.
Right.
And I honestly think Michael Owen's design is probably one of the better ones that come out lately.
One.
Can you stop moving? And so
I would do mine in Lily Pulitzer colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If you're not running for a federal or state legislative office,
Correct.
I think that's where you have some creative freedom.
Yeah.
You can go with some interesting colors. I mean, we've seen property appraiser Bob Enriquez. I think
great.
he's used his logo, the same logo for years.
Years.
I think
it
it's
works.
what, yellow?
Yeah, it's yellow, but not black.
Maybe like a blue?
Maybe blue.
Yeah,
It's
yellow and
interesting,
blue.
But it works. It works.
Yeah.
And it works very well. And it almost hits like an independent vibe,
Right.
which is really good for someone
Well, it's
that...
supposed to be a
Nonpartisan
It's supposed
often.
to be a nonpartisan
Yeah,
office.
but we
Right.
always
Right.
know exactly who's running what
Well,
party
it's kind of
affiliation.
nice to see a yellow sign or a green sign.
Sally.
Sure.
Sally's
Sally
were
Harris.
yellow.
If
Right.
someone,
But
if
way
there's
too much writing.
if there's a female running and does a hot pink sign, they've got my vote. I'm just gonna say
Remember
that.
the Women for Trump? Their signs were pink.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
They
Pink and
worked
blue,
for-
right?
Pink and blue.
Yeah.
No, pink and white, I think.
Pink and white.
And they worked
Oh.
very well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Well, I would
they're-
think the white would get washed out by the pink, but I think
it was almost like a
dark
it
pink,
was a,
right?
No, it was like a metallic.
magenta.
Okay.
It was magenta.
Sure.
I'm surprised that we still have the audience that we have right now. Like we're talking colors.
All right. So
Sorry,
let's
everyone.
let's get into a much more fun topic.
Wait,
You gotta close out the show.
wait.
What
real
happened?
quick. So I don't know what happened. We stopped looking at it for a second. Branding is everything. I agree. Green is the new black. Hector, red and black through is pretty badass.
Yeah. But again, those colors are so dark that they kind of almost they don't really pop. They don't. You know what I mean? You need contrast. In my
Orange.
opinion, I'm
Orange
big
will
on
pop.
contrast.
Yeah, I love that. I will say this: Kimberly Davis is calling people out because she says that, or you could do certain congressional candidate that puts the seal of the Congress, the congressional
geez.
Congress seal, on their vehicle. Is that illegal? I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know if
pretty sure that's probably illegal.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
almost positive. So if you're a congressional candidate and you have the seal of Congress on your vehicle, I think that might be a.
I think there should be an asterisk.
Right.
next to it.
Yeah.
There should be an asterisk
Little
next to
disclaimer at the bottom.
Oh my
That'll keep
God.
them out of a lot of trouble.
Right.
And then of course Holly's nonpartisan. I love yellow.
Hey,
All right, so
my
let's get
God.
into, speaking of federal races, let's get into our final topic, which is Kamala Harris in hot water with the White House as poll numbers are showing that she is in major trouble, especially after the immigration debacle and, her not going to the border and then eventually going to the border after Trump went to the border. And, it just really made a mockery of the whole situation. And the fact that, again, this is a problem that the Biden administration created because that they said that they would they would welcome immigrants with open arms. We saw the illegal immigrants with the Biden shirts and all that right around the inauguration time and election time, and really she just hasn't seemed to be able to connect with the people on any level. Which not surprising. I mean, she's not likable. She was barely a finalist. She wasn't a finalist in the primary.
She was in the campaign for president for 3
Right.
months.
She got taken out, by people, far less, qualified than her, and how they even thought that they might have some sort of future with her. Second command is still beyond me. So it shouldn't be a surprise that we find ourselves in this position. But the bigger question becomes, do they replace her for 2024? I mean, because think about the controversy of replacing a woman of color, on a ticket led by a white male for Democrats in this current situation.
Well, do you want to talk first or do you want me to?
Not to say that I'm enjoying the fact that they're having this problem, but at the moment, after 6 months in office as vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, or Kamala, how are we saying the name?
I say Kamala.
Can you chuckle with it too?
Can you what?
Can you do her little chuckle, her little cackle?
The way I feel awkward. I feel like I'm
It is.
watching
It's a forced
an
laugh.
episode of The Office.
Right.
Every time she laughs.
Oh, it's worse than that.
I feel so bad, but not really. Okay, anyway, she says that she's the most unpopular vice president since the 1970s. Recent polls show the reveal that Kamala Harris' ratings has hit a record low as majority of Americans disapprove of her job performance. Also, in that point, a recent poll by YouGive economists show that young people ages between 18 and 29 view her extremely unfavorable, at only 36% found her to be favorable. So I think this is a problem that they had created themselves. You had President Biden saying before they even had the idea of having a vice president, because he was still dealing. He made this announcement during the Democrat side debate with Bernie Sanders that he would get a this sounds horrible, a minority female to run as his vice president before he was even out as the primary guy. Yeah. And you're like, well, then that boxes you into something already that you have to hit. So now, how is an old white guy gonna tell the first African-American vice president, I'm sorry, I need you off my ticket because you're bringing me down, because you can't get young people, minorities, or women to vote for you?
Well, we've seen them play racial politics. Again, they're just being completely transparent about it. I mean, that's really the only difference. I mean, but you're right. They alienated some of the women that, were on the bench, Tulsi Gabbard being one of them, who would have been phenomenal,
phenomenal.
Because she not only had the credentials of a Kamala Harris and then some. You were talking about a veteran.
But did she really earn? Never mind. I'm going to retract my statement.
Well, what are you about to say?
I'm going to talk about Kamala, but not.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, there's that too. Her credibility and how she worked her way up the political ladder obviously has been brought into question, and the fact that we know that she really wasn't somebody that cared much for Biden in the first place, meaning that she pretty much called him a racist on national television. And look, there's plenty of evidence to substantiate that claim. But how they basically made the roundabout and figured that she would be the best person to be on his ticket, I still will never understand.
The reason they picked her is because she's a female. That's the only reason.
Sure.
She's
of color.
Of color.
Right.
And as a female, I would not specifically vote for someone just because she's a female in that type of office. I want the person that's going to take care of the country the best.
But see, that type of politics works with Democrats.
Right, it does.
Well,
It's
first
to an
of
effect.
all,
I mean, we saw Obama.
Okay.
Again, Obama
He was
wasn't qualified
yeah, but
to be
Obama was a
president.
man.
He
And
also, not that I'm an Obama fan, but he had a little bit of that Lincoln-esque effect. He started talking and you
Oh, yeah.
wanted to listen.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
wanted
He was
to
He had
a
the
listen.
great
X factor.
politician. He was a
She
great
starts
politician.
talking
Right.
and you either want to laugh or you want to vomit.
Right.
So
I feel so bad. I feel so
Like-
bad. I feel like I'm watching a TV show, and I'm like, why do I feel uncomfortable watching
Yeah.
someone that's an elected official?
But I mean, he was elected on basically his charisma, right?
Right.
Because
Like
he
a
was a
Kennedy
great speaker,
situation,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. But again, he had never served a full term in any office that he had been elected to
No.
until president.
Right.
And so it goes to show you that for the average Democrat voter, like they're barely paying attention. Like they don't care.
they're going, most Democratic voters are going to go after whatever side of that leftist field that they're passionate about, whether it be socioeconomic or just economic. Who really knows? But whatever that ticket played, whether it was that election was legit or not, it played to that it played to that side and it got those votes.
What I wonder is that how long will the progressive and increasingly more progressive wing of the party, are they going to continue to, how long are they going to continue to be brushed aside before it truly starts to hurt them? Because again, we saw them come after Bernie again, and take Bernie down. They just happened to do it a lot earlier and quicker this time. And we continue to see them alienate the progressives in terms of these kind of opportunities where they could have advanced somebody that was maybe more progressive than Joe and put them on the ticket.
They're going to keep doing what they're doing till it doesn't work anymore. The same thing when Bush was in office.
Yeah.
When are we going to stop blaming Bush for all those policies? Well, till it doesn't work anymore. And
Right.
it's going to be
So-
the same thing.
And again, you have the benefit of being the party in power. So right there, Democrats have been the group that will allow themselves to get rolled over, basically, and allow themselves to continue to get steamrolled, and they don't care because at least they're in power. They get to vote. They get to be a part of the system and everything else. And you saw that with Bernie Sanders. I would have loved to have seen a legitimate campaign out of him, but he balked twice in the regards to the Clintons, and then again during the Biden situation. So if you're willing to balk twice about that and get dumped on every single time as an independent or whatever he's calling himself these days, that I don't see it's ever going to happen, and they're going to have that problem every single time. I will say this: comment section is on fire by the women on our section, by the way.
Also, how long is AOC going to put up with this?
Yeah, well,
They're a little rising star over there.
and one of the stories I think
Yeah.
breaking that I saw, I'm sure Anibal saw it too, was apparently that AOC had hired some former Blackwater operatives
Oh my
to service her security detail, which is hilarious, right? Given her stance on not only the police, but certainly an organization like Blackwater that comes with plenty of baggage. Now, they obviously go by a different name
body
and all that
counts.
kind of stuff. Right, but again, here she is talking about defunding the police, an issue that is already highly unpopular in minority-centric communities, and yet she, obviously being of means now, is hiring security detail to follow her everywhere. And I'm not saying that if I were in her position, I would do anything different. She's obviously a very big political target, but it's just hypocritical to the 10th degree, in terms of, again, these communities, sure, we don't want more security and we don't want more money for the police and law enforcement in these communities, but I'll go and hire my personal security, to make sure that nothing happens to me.
Well, it's just like with what's still happening out in Portland and Seattle. The moment you have that in social unrest, let's call in the police, but at the same time, let's defund them. Like,
Right.
it's so hypocrisy.
Also, they're not even listening to their own communities
No.
that talk about wanting the security that comes with additional policing. I think it was like an overwhelming support of individuals living in these lower income communities
It was 60 or 70%.
want more additional policing. And you have these Democratic talking heads talking about how we need to defund the police. And these, honestly, the communists and socialists that want this to happen. Why? Because then you have anarchy that brings itself into the realm. So I don't care when someone talks about that. I love how the White House was trying to say that it was Republicans that wanted to defund the police, which I thought was just comical in any realm. And again, you know that because they're just desperate to get that narrative off of them.
Yeah.
But you're going to keep on seeing this. Again, the comment section is hilarious. Hector is talking about falling. Kamala is basically falling upwards, is what's happening with her. Right. Kimberly Davis says, please be quiet because eventually she's going to be our president soon enough. In regards to the first term of the Biden administration. Amanda is on fire with the comment section, and I am not going to say what she's writing. So you can go and check and see the comment section, but it has something to do with a camel. So we can leave it there.
Lordy. I'll also say this, with Governor Newsom's recall vote coming out in September, how much campaigning is Kamala going to go out and do for him?
None.
Oh, none.
She's hated.
You don't think so?
No, she's hated. If she does, he loses. Because she is hated in her own state.
Yeah.
Her own state didn't vote for her in the primaries. So it's hilarious to see that people really think. However, I will say this. Of course, because I'm a dork, I went through her financial contributions and I did a calculations that she had more millionaires support her in her presidential campaign, and also she had hired a lot of post-Hillary, post-Obama.
Yeah, because
staffers.
again, she's an establishment Democrat.
Yes.
Right.
She is and by that it means being one of the most hypocritical Democrats that there is. I mean, again, she had pictures at the border with Border Patrol while she was Attorney General in California. She incarcerated more men, more minority men than any previous Attorney General had in the state of Florida, California. Sorry, God, I would never put that on Florida. And so she basically was on the opposite side of every issue the Democrats claimed to be against, and yet somehow they magically thought that she'd make a great fit for vice president when, again, they're the largest state in the union, has rejected her.
Jonathan, I don't know why you are so apprehensive for this president. Because remember, she had hot sauce in her purse. And because of that, she should be our vice president. There's no need.
It didn't work for Hillary.
There's no need for you to be talking like that.
Again, maybe when Kamala is president the next year, maybe she'll have Charlie Crist as her vice president so they can be the flip-flop party.
Yeah, no, and so everybody, I think, has seen the curtain pulled back on her. You know what I mean? They're over the Timberlands. They're over the Converse. They're over the whole facade. And truthfully, has it happened before? Yeah, historically, there have been vice presidential switches on tickets. For re-election.
Yeah, because they died.
Well, I don't know about that. I just know that it's happened. I mean, and I wouldn't be surprised. They would be stupid to not at least consider it, because she is dead weight on that ticket. Aside from the actual dead person on that ticket, which is Joe Biden.
So who are they going to pick the next election term? If she's not on the ticket.
I mean, again, I could see a Val. I could see a Val if they're going to go the female minority route. They have Val Demings here in Florida, who again is making a name for herself nationally. She's going to run against Senator Rubio for she'll fail miraculously. I mean, in an amazing way. I mean, she'll crash and burn in that race, but it's going to put her name on the national spotlight, and I think that leaves her open for 2024. I'm sure again, you're talking about the mayor of Atlanta, who seems to have a lot of growth right now in the
Stacey
party.
Abrams?
Yeah, there you go. Stacey Abrams.
Unelected official.
Right.
Citizen. The woman is like pretending to be governor of Georgia when she never even won a race.
No,
In her mind, she did.
In her mind, a lot of things have changed.
And to her credit, to her credit, directly or indirectly, she swung the vote in Georgia. She put the resources. She did what Gillum promised to do, which is she took the resources she took the resources from that campaign and she mobilized people across the state, and they flipped. I mean, they are turning Georgia blue.
They are turning Georgia blue. So maybe moving her into a vice president position might actually get her out of Georgia.
We need more Reds to infiltrate Georgia.
Yeah, well,
Keep
again,
the South red.
Keep the South red.
The South will rise again. Keep it,
Wow!
keep the South red.
All right, and on that note,
Not in that way. I'm talking political.
Holly is cut off from the beverages.
And the sun will rise again.
It's all about the politics, nothing else. Oh gosh, I'm just being censored.
Wow, this
Was that Tennessee whiskey we were serving today? What was that?
I haven't even drank much of it. That's a sad thing.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know where to go for this.
No, look. I mean, are there other options? Yeah. I mean, they have
very few
They do have
No, there are
few,
very-
but you don't need many. Again, and again, they're looking at Gretchen Whitmer.
how many
they're looking at. There are other women, qualified women that
Yeah, but they need
they don't need. They don't need. They think
they need a minority female.
I mean, he was
Condoleezza
just
Rice.
saying that.
Condoleezza Rice. Is she still a Republican?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't she running like an NFL team now or
She
something?
was.
know what?
She was on the board of commissions.
Oh, okay, that's
for a
what it was.
while, and I think they were trying to get her to be the commissioner.
Right.
Which will
She
never
should
happen.
run for the MLB commissioner when that seat opens up in 2024.
All I
Yeah, she
know,
loves football.
all
Everything's
I
football.
know is that the women's soccer team lost in their fight against Canada. What is wrong
God.
with you people and the French? Oh my God!
I'm so glad. I hope they just clean the slate of this
was
entire
so
team.
annoyed. I
And
was
mind you,
so
there are some great players on there.
Yes.
But the ones that are distracting from the sport need to be removed.
I agree.
They are toxic to the sport. They are toxic to the team.
They are.
And again, like our expectations, are now at a certain level
If
because
you're
of their
gonna
past
talk,
performance.
then you better deliver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And their political stances have been nothing but a distraction to their performance.
Again, I would eat if they were going to if they won the whole thing gold medal and they added to the count. Then yeah, you eat crow.
Oh,
You're like,
sure.
you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
You make it. You win. You get to talk.
Right.
But the fact that they were talking and then they still didn't finish, that pissed me off completely. And again, this whole medal count situation. If we don't win, if we don't beat China in the gold race, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Right.
And that's what's really starting to annoy me is that we're falling short in so many places, and you kind of see the expectation. Really, people are starting to get upset. And now I think Simone Biles is going to compete.
Oh, is she now?
Just one event.
She's only going to do one
Balance
event,
beam.
and people are talking about that. And I don't want to touch that situation at all because
keeping my mouth shut for
Yeah,
that
because
comment
she
section.
made a decision, and you know what? She has the right to make that decision.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we were able to use one of the alternates to compete, and that alternate has won one gold and like one
Suni Lee.
bronze. Yeah, no, the alternate.
Oh, the alternate.
So she was able.
Yeah, she
to,
won a bronze,
Skinner?
a silver, I think.
Okay,
She's
Skinner?
won two, yeah, Skinner.
Skinner.
So like,
Yeah, yeah.
it was good that they had alternates and everything else. That was my only concern.
Yeah.
That if she would have stayed, then she would have taken a spot from someone. But she backed out quickly, and they were able to move forward. So that's fine.
I get let's not even.
Yeah,
go that
it's
way.
just it's.
I haven't watched much of it. It's just too political this year.
It's very political.
Yeah. Well, again, just really quickly, like touching on Osaka, right? With who backed out of Wimbledon, and then and then, funny enough, 2 weeks later, guess who has a Netflix special? 2 weeks after her mental breakdown. So I also just really, and I'm not saying Biles had any kind of ulterior motive, but again, it's when you're competing at that level, it's just. There's a certain expectation.
It's not Obama's playground.
And so,
You need to compete. We have high expectations,
Yeah.
but
well, and again, I think, and overall, I think we're seeing that not a lot of people are even paying attention as they have in years past. And really, the performance by the basketball team, by the soccer team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all been very kind of mediocre.
I think people are just upset. I think people are getting annoyed and they're getting upset. And the fact that this had to
Well,
get
it's not a
political-
distraction anymore. It's
Yeah.
not a distraction from politics. It's not a distraction
Well,
because they've made it that way.
frankly, I used to be so excited, like growing up, so excited about the Olympics, whether it be summer, winter.
There's a winter.
Yes, there is winter, and I love the Winter Olympics too. But I remember seeing the torch run through Indiana when we hosted in Atlanta. I was so excited. Anyway, long story short, it's just not. It's boring. It's like watching the Oscars.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something missing, but and
Yeah.
maybe it's because again it all got pushed back. There's no crowds. There's no, But I mean, and then you've got all these new sports. They had what was it 5-on-5 basketball or
3-on-3.
something, 3-on-3, and then they had the BMX bike.
I'm okay with
thing.
3-on-3 because the U.S. women's team won gold in that one.
Yeah.
Again, you were expecting the U.S.
No, well,
team
we've been doing
to
well.
win. We haven't been doing well.
No, I mean in some of the newer sports.
BMX, we lost to the Great Britain. Oh my! Oh.
Because Tony
surfing.
Hawk
We
wasn't
went
competing.
surfing.
we won surfing,
Yeah.
and then the moment we win gold in surfing, I don't remember what news agency did it, but they were talking about how surfing is cultural appropriation from Hawaiians, and then you had to have who's the guy that does late nights on HBO?
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher has to be the savior of the of the republic and talk about what there's 3 actual native Hawaiians and you're upset with them because there's not 30,000 islands in the Pacific that could come up with
And how is it cultural appropriation? Like, nobody has ownership of any sport.
I have no idea.
No country has an ownership of a sport.
A liberal is like a hammer looking for a nail.
I feel like they just offended the Australians, half the coast of Florida, and the other coast of California.
It's completely ridiculous how they think of these. Again, what are they doing in the news? Aren't we trying to get rid of what's her name? Galeen? Aren't we trying to get that woman in prison or something like that? There are other things that we could talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
From human trafficking to what's going on the border. Yeah. There's so many things that we could be talking about, but we're talking about cultural appropriation of surfing. What is that?
All right. So on that note, let's go ahead and start to bring this in for a close with a little segment that we like to do where we talk about the stories that we didn't get to, just briefly mention them in the hopes that maybe you'll take some time to look into these, and who knows, maybe they'll make it on to a future episode. What did we miss, Anibal David Cabrera?
So I asked the audience to talk about what's going on in the titles and everything, or what's going on with what they think this coming week is going to be about. Some people were like the impact of college athletes that Oklahoma and Tennessee and Texas moving to the SEC would have. I think that's something that people are looking forward to. What's happening there? We get the title for Kamala, Condoleezza Rice is just college football playoff committee member.
Bring back the BCS.
Very annoying. You would. You of
I
all
totally
people.
would.
After so many years of college football fans crying about a playoff, and now they want the BCS again.
I will say it's going to be interesting to see now that money's allowed to flow to the athletes. I'm very much looking.
Oh yeah, I think I mentioned that last week.
Looking forward to all the corruption scandals and everything.
That's going to be amazing.
That's going to be amazing to see.
I'm sure ESPN's like 30 for 30 is just frothing at the mouth.
They're going to start in Bama.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has like $1 million contract already.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. All these kids under the age of 25 having multi-million-dollar contracts, and then seeing how quickly all that money gets disappeared.
Under 25, under 21.
It's gonna be bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to tell you, but like contact someone that can do your accounting and that can steer you in the right direction.
So
that's what's gonna happen.
Is that a plug for you?
Nope. I have no desire for any of that. I have way too much work.
Hey, look, politics aside, I mean, look at what LeBron has done with his money. Look at what Kevin Durant has done with his money. It seems that there is a trend among the younger generation of athletes that are much more financially savvy and certainly being better advised as to what to do with the enormous amounts of money that they are making. I mean, I think Durant made some crazy amount of money on the Robinhood IPO, and kudos to him again. You know, it's I mean, that to me is the best distribution of wealth. When it's kind of earned that way, and for too long, again, a lot of these guys came from poverty, came from upbringing where they didn't have any type of financial literacy, and to see them now, I mean, LeBron's like producing like every other movie that comes out now. It seems like, including what's the Gucci one that's coming out?
LeBron is not doing that. The House of Gucci.
Yeah,
the House of Gucci.
No, he's not.
He's co-producing that. Yeah.
No.
LeBron's company or LeBron himself?
The company.
I'm going to tell you this right now.
The production
I saw
company.
the commercial for that one.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga is phenomenal.
Oscar.
It's an Oscar.
Yeah.
And at the end, when she does the father-son House of Gucci, Lauren and I died on the couch.
Yeah. Well, but yes. So look up the trailer for that movie. That's going to be interesting. Holly, what story did we miss?
Well, since we already started talking about football, we're under 30 days from the start of football season.
Isn't this like, isn't there like 2 or 3 weekends where it's college football, baseball, and like hockey? Like,
yes.
It's somewhere in like October or something
my
like that.
ideal travel plan would hit one city where I can see 3 to 4 different sports in one weekend.
Oh my gosh. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean,
yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
if New Orleans.
What city would that be if you
So
had that?
I'm trying to think. If New Orleans could get an NHL or an MLB team, then you could do an LSU game, a Saints game, and then that third one.
You know where you could do it, which would be a good year for it.
Vegas.
Would be
Vegas.
Vegas or Seattle.
Yeah, I still
Seattle
think,
just got their new NHL team.
I know,
so.
and I still think they should have been called the Sasquatches.
Oh, that would have been kind of cool.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Would have made sense. Except the Krakens. Do they have Krakens in Seattle?
I don't know.
That's
It's a
just
mythological
mythical
creature. It's a it doesn't even exist.
Okay.
If Ireland had.
It's a great roller
If
coaster.
Ireland had an NHL team, I totally would have gotten the Kraken from Ireland, but
Anyways,
Greenland, but-
anywho, I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen with Belarus's Olympic star, who just
Oh, man.
was being escorted to the airport in Tokyo and basically sidelined her handlers and asked for asylum.
Ooh.
So that's what's happening now. She's getting asylum in Poland, which is going to give her asylum. But like the Belarus government and president was basically saying, if you don't meddle in your positions, just don't come home. Which I feel if we had that attitude with the United States, we'd be a little bit higher in the medal count.
she being blackmailed for something?
No,
Being blackmailed for
she was
something?
talking crap about the coaches and the
I
government.
mean, we're not doing great, but we're not doing that bad either.
Well, that's why the Capitol Police are here.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, Florida, I think, is winning in the medal count. I think we got 9 golds.
Oh, crazy, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing very
And
well.
Dressel's
in the
not
medal
even
count.
done yet.
No, we
No.
have a lot of track and field that's going to come up. I'm really excited to see what's happening there. But yes, at the moment, I'm looking to see what Belarus is going to do in regards to their track and field runner pulling the whole like "get me out of here" situation.
All I think of is Broken Down Palace when I hear.
Broken. Oh yes.
Yes, with the drug trafficking.
Speaking of drug trafficking, I may have mentioned this on last week's show, which is I'm kind of excited, although I can't stand the director because we have Twitter beef. But
What?
Yeah,
Who doesn't like you as a Twitter friend? What is Twitter, by the way?
he's the director of what's his name, Corbin.
Corbin Dallas.
He was the director of Cocaine Cowboys, and also did the ESPN 30 for 30 about the U, and the U Part 2. And he's coming out with a Netflix series based on Cocaine Cowboys called The Kings of Miami.
Interesting.
I heard about the Kings of Miami.
Yeah, and that's going to be super interesting because, again, I mean, like the Miami you see today, I mean, look,
built on
it's
drug
Oh,
Yeah,
all of it.
exactly.
All
Did you ever
right.
see the
Majority
movie
of it.
Maria Full of Grace?
No, it's been on my
Good movie.
watch list for a long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic. I mean, among
Yeah.
Hispanic circles.
Racist.
So, all right. Well, thank you again to everybody for watching. The usual crews, the usual faces of in our comment section. We love you so much for all your feedback and all your insight. Thank you again. Don't forget, yes.
Medal counts.
Oh.
At the moment, China is ahead of us 29 to 22 in the gold. We are barely winning
That's
the
a big gap.
overall between 20. We have 64 with them having 62. You have Chinese people out swimming Latin people. This makes absolutely no sense.
So you're basically saying they might have beat us in COVID, but they haven't beat us in medal count.
Yeah.
Again, all I care about is winning the gold count. If we lose the gold count, don't come home. Honestly,
Yeah.
people are already upset. I think what caused the whole big problem was that there wasn't a big celebration in the opening ceremony. It was very depressing, and they had they had drones, woo! But like that was kind of all that they had.
We had a drone show in St. Pete this
and it
weekend.
was an amazing drone show.
Yeah.
like kudos to the people in St. Pete because that was a really legit.
All the drones in St. Pete.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be doing the next Olympics.
So yes, very annoyed. Thank you, our director, for posting that information and boiling my blood the fact that we are losing. I check like twice or 3 times a day what our medal count is,
Yeah.
and I'm getting super annoyed every
Well,
time.
it also, I think the Simone Biles narrative, I think took a lot of wind out of our excitement for the Olympics. Also, the fact that, I mean, Caleb Dressel obviously doing amazing things. He's got a number of world records. He's got, I think 4 gold medals so far, 4 or 5 gold medals so far. So obviously on track to be a Michael Phelps-like, athlete. Could he beat Phelps? Possibly. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously that's quite a legacy to beat. But yeah, I just don't feel that hype, that excitement that
I'm just
there's
getting
been.
annoyed that we keep on getting silver.
You know who should
Yeah.
really come do Olympic commentary during the summer is Nastia Lukin and Johnny Weir.
Oh.
Yes.
They're phenomenal.
Apparently, there's a channel where you can get Olympic commentary from Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg.
Oh my god.
I would and we could get Martha Stewart on that too.
Martha
Oh, them
Stewart.
too.
Martha Stewart
Snoop and
is
Martha,
a thug. Again, she is amazing.
She learned something in jail.
Oh, she learned a lot in jail. I will leave it at that because
Yeah.
you never know when you need to create a centerpiece out of a shiv. So Hector is saying that the big news that
Maybe
he's
a
looking.
shiv out of a centerpiece.
Yeah, I messed
It's
it
okay.
up. Anyways, Hector Gonzalez is talking about how Amazon just got busted for meddling in the union elections at their Alabama warehouse.
We knew that was coming.
Is good. Oh, we all knew that was
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
That was not going to be that was, of course. So they're probably going to do re-elections.
Yeah, and actually, if you want to kind of get real nerdy about the whole thing, so the same union busting company that Amazon hired in that situation has actually been hired by Blizzard, not the
Really?
delicacy, but the video game company.
Not the DQ treat.
Not the DQ treat. That one, they're still okay. They're on good terms with Dairy Queen. Blizzard, the video game company,
very conservative.
also having major staff issues, major company culture issues, and they've apparently hired the same team that Amazon hired to help them dissolve the issues happening in Alabama.
I love when Democrats talk about like unions and then union busting.
Yeah.
And then I even love it even better when like congressional or like campaigns try to unionize themselves. And you're like, this is a job that's not going to be here after the
Yeah.
election. You're trying to unionize.
Well,
a
remember
campaign-
the Bernie
in New
Sanders
York,
campaign had to unionize.
but also in New York City,
Right.
there was a woman that was running for New York mayor, and she was getting called out for not paying her staff members accordingly to the union. And I was like, when did a campaign get a union?
Well, when you
Right.
think about staffers in general, it's up every 2 years for them.
Right. Well, and getting paid by a campaign alone.
that's-
I mean,
yeah.
it's usually maybe a handful of people, a dozen at most.
Right.
I mean, but the majority of the people who are quote unquote working on your campaign are volunteers.
Oh yeah, it's not like we don't know those people that are working in the campaign.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't get paid till they get to the Hill.
Yeah,
Oh,
try
yeah.
pulling that. I want to get paid on a campaign here in Florida and see how well that goes.
You
Bye.
get paid in pizza, Subway.
That's right, exactly.
Gratitude.
Starbucks cars, gas cars.
Hey, I
say-
love my Starbucks.
I will
Dunkin'
say-
Donuts.
Free
I will-
T-shirts. Sorry.
No, that's right. I will say this: congratulations to Sherry and who was
Sherry's
it?
Berries?
Sherry, no, Sherry. She's working for
Denham,
The
yes.
Sherry Denham. She's working for the RPOF. We are so excited that she is on board with that.
Republican Party of Florida.
Yes, I think she is one of those individuals that knows what she's talking about, and
She's
like-
earned it. She's
she
definitely
definitely
earned
has
it.
earned it,
Yeah.
and like she almost, I think she broke her leg or had like a fracture.
Really?
Last cycle when she was doing door to doors because she
Wow.
was killing it.
Yeah.
She was actually killing it. She wasn't. I'm gonna stop. I know too much.
Yeah.
I know too much. But she was actually doing the work that she was supposed to be doing. And I think also, I think his name is. Oh my
No,
gosh.
Sherry has earned it the hard way. You know, she started off as a volunteer. She's been a candidate. You know, she's really learned the ropes, and I think that was a great move by the party to hire her here locally. I also,
Yeah.
I don't want to give specifics, but I do want to wish our good friend Hector, who's in the comments section with us every show, the best of luck on a big phone call he's going to be having tomorrow, I believe.
This is a family. We know you guys. Also, Blaze, congratulations for your recent appointment and job with the RPOF. So I think they're doing a great job hiring.
Which Blaze? Drink wine?
I believe so, yes.
Oh.
I think they're doing a great job hiring people now because normally you
Yeah.
hear it like later on in the year, almost into the actual election cycle
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So the fact that they're hiring these people now, they're actually from the community. They know what's going on. They're boots on the ground. They don't have to rebuild a network. Again, I love to death those people that come. I think it's annoying when they come in from another part of the state or even another part of the country,
Right.
and they're the regional directors, and like they're introducing themselves to you, and they're giving you their card. I'm like, oh, honey, you're not gonna
Yeah,
last,
right.
or like you have no idea what's happening in Hillsborough County. How on earth are you gonna be put in the right position?
Yeah.
So
No,
I
look,
feel bad.
and for the past few cycles, I'll give them credit. They've done very good on hiring, We had Rosie Paulson, who
Oh,
worked for
yeah.
the party in the last cycle. I mean, people like that who, again, know the lay of the land. They know the players involved. You're hitting the ground with a running start rather than, like you said, some outsider that either maybe just got out of college or maybe he's in college, maybe even from another state and has zero clue
Zero
what they've
attachments.
gotten themselves into.
Zero.
Well, also, when you announce things like this and you know that they know the lay of the land, it makes you kind of excited and
Yes.
energized and want to get
Yeah,
involved.
Very
Right.
and hyper focused and
Oh, yeah.
excited.
Gives you confidence in that
Right.
campaign.
When Sherry calls me, I'm going to go where she wants me to go because I know she's done the research to know where people need to go.
And you know
Maybe
that
waste
she's
your
going to
it
do.
won't be a waste of time.
Well, you know she's
Exactly.
going to do the work too.
Yes,
Right.
I'm very excited for both of those picks, and I'm excited to see what other. If this is where the roster is going in 2022, I'm pretty excited for the midterms in Hillsborough County.
Start planning your parties now.
I'm also excited to see who's going to be who. I'm also very excited to see who's going to win the Republican nomination for the congressional district 13. I'm very excited.
I'll tell you right now, and I had this conversation over the weekend with someone who's very close to that whole scenario, and it's probably not going to be one of the people who are currently in contention.
I completely agree. I think there are.
It's somebody who hasn't jumped in the
I think
race
there's
yet.
at least 2 or 3 more people that are going to jump
It's
into that race.
still early.
It's very
still
early. It's very early, and we already have one lawsuit. It's
with-
early. It's very early.
Right. And
Lawsuits.
one lawsuit and one potential incarceration.
Oh, that's nothing for a Republican congressional district
In Florida.
in a blue +2 district.
Oh my God! But yeah, I don't think that person has entered the race yet. I think our candidate in that race has not entered the race yet. So that'll be my prediction.
I'm very
for
excited
it.
to see where that's going to go. But
So-
let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So again, on behalf of Anibal, David Cabrera, Holly Holobyn, and yours truly, Jonny Torres, thank you so much to everybody for watching. Don't forget the audio version of this podcast is available over at the Tech Overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. You can subscribe to those right now, and we'll have the audio version of this episode up as soon as possible. You can see previous episodes on there as well. And for the video version of any episode of this show, you can catch those on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you so much for watching The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. We'll catch you next Monday, 7 o'clock from the Bullhorn Communications Bunker in Ybor City, Florida. Good night, everybody.